I'm going to talk about a brand new crypto that just launched, and you might be thinking, why now? Everything's down. We already have our investments. Why would we move forward? And I have said in the past that there's only certain reasons I would look at things in 2025 because we're on the cusp, hopefully, of a bull market. And if something is just launched right now, what could it possibly do in the next 3, 6, 9 months? This one has already been building for a while, and what it's doing is very interesting to me. We're going to talk about it. I'm Brian, big dumb animal, so my disclaimer is don't do what I do. It's informational purposes only. The ticker is IP, and it's called Story. But what they're doing is it's essentially a layer one for, let's go to CoinMarketCap, for intellectual property. You may or may not know, I have a computer science degree, I programmed for a long time, started a couple tech companies with software I actually wrote, and I'm an intellectual property attorney, patent, trademark, copyright, all that kind of stuff. I don't do it anymore, but I did. So intellectual property is something I know near dear to my heart. So when this came about, I thought this is interesting because it's one thing to create a layer one and say that we're everything to all people and whatever you want to do, you can do. But then I do believe there will be niches for layer ones that have specific purposes. They're built for solving specific needs. And this one is for intellectual property. 3 reasons. 1, because it's IP. 2, when it launched, which was just on February 13th, it's already on a whole host of exchanges, Coinbase being one. That's great because it's going to have exposure to the most people right out of the gate. If you look at the token itself, it says, Story is a layer 1 blockchain designed to serve the foundation for intellectual property on the internet. Enables creators to register, license, monetize their IP assets. We'll talk about that more in a second. This is one thing I do like. The IP token is the native utility for paying transaction fees. Good. We want it to be used. Registering and validating intellectual property assets, again, being used for different things on the blockchain. Licensing IP assets and obtaining commercial rights. So it's going to be used by those who not only are tokenizing their IP, but those that want to obtain and use the IP. And of course, participating in governance and staking. A lot of times things are just for governance and then maybe some staking and maybe some things on the chain. This is going to be used in many different ways. I think that's great for the coin itself. And I said that there was 3 reasons I like this. 1, because it's intellectual property. I think that's a huge market and it's specific to that. 2, because it's on multiple exchanges. And 3, because if you look at from their website, their mainnet is live. They did that and it coincided with the launch, their token generation event, the launch of their token, the IP token. I'm just going to keep this short and sweet. But if we look at this article that was put out a couple days ago discussing it, says here, the network will be secured by the IP token, like we discussed, used for transactions, governance, creator rewards, etc. Here's the whole reason that I decided to invest. This sentence here. IP owners can register and tokenize their work on the blockchain, setting rules for how it can be used, monetized, and modified. So if you think about, there's patents, there's copyrights, there's trademarks. They're very different in what they provide and how they're used. And then there's trade secrets. Let's just say that covers everything else. But ideally, someone who creates something wants to have some protection for it, meaning they want to be able to monetize it or determine how it is or isn't used. That is essentially done through licensing or licensing agreements. I've written quite a few of them. And when you do that, if you think about, let's say, copyright, people will always say there's a bundle of rights and you can carve them out however you want. Reproduce, distribute, perform, display, and create derivative works. It can be complicated. Once you've, let's say, obtained a patent or you've got something that you want to license out, various rights, like someone can, let's say, it's music. That's an easy one. Why? Because we've had ASCAP and BMI, which are 2 large organizations which help those that write music or perform music to be able to monetize it. If you go into a restaurant or somewhere and you're hearing music being played, they get paid for that sort of thing. But an individual can't easily go and police the world, so to speak, to determine who is or isn't using their works and who owes them a penny or half a cent, so that these organizations came about. If I were to write a license agreement for someone who has software, it would be a pretty lengthy licensing agreement, and then they would have to seek out the customer. So in the music industry, you can see where it might be a lot of people paying you a little bit of money. Then you might have something like licensing agreements with software that I was alluding to, and they typically, well, now with online, they might be able to find the company and sign the agreement when they download the software. But again, that's having to find the connection with the end user and then creating some sort of an agreement with them. Fast forward to this, you essentially tokenize your intellectual property and put it on this chain, and then someone can just pay you to utilize it. Amazing. In a way, if I was someone's attorney with respect to this, or someone else was, they wouldn't have to execute a whole bunch of licensing agreements. They would just essentially do it once. And then when someone wanted to use it, they could just go grab and use it. They talk mainly about some of the things that would come to mind, like artwork and music. And they're also discussing AI agents. That's interesting. And I think that's going to be a huge market. I haven't seen them talk about patents yet. I think that will be a gigantic market, and some of the other things that people can monetize, because the amount of money involved in that is astronomical. And the idea that you could essentially cut out the middleman, reduce the friction, eliminate the pain of having to get two parties together who want to license the thing they have and someone who actually wants to then license it. So this is really, in my opinion, going to blow up. That's just me. I'm interested because of what they're doing. But of course, I always say, I'm a big dumb animal, don't do what I do. It's around $2 now. It came out and released around $1.70. You can see it went up, went down, went back up. If we look at the total market cap, this was interesting. $500 million market cap already. More importantly, a $2 billion fully diluted value. Number 124, it's almost cracked the top 100. I think it's going to be an interesting one. I think it's one to watch. Oh, I always have to say, full transparency, I bought some. This was one that I think is worth looking at because of what they've already done leading up to this. Even though it is 2025 and is being released right before this bull market, it might be perfect timing. I have not come across anything else with this type of a market cap that is focusing specifically on licensing of intellectual property. So in my opinion, this is a layer one that has a very unique story. Haha, it's called Story, S-T-O-R-Y, even though the ticker is IP. Have a great day. Hope we can make generational wealth together with crypto. Thanks for watching.